So good morning, everyone. Good morning. We open this beautiful morning at the Khushwant Singh Literature Festival with music that evokes the larger cosmos. With Jasleen Singh Kaur on the vocals, sorry. And Sandeep Singh on this instrument that both looks and sounds divine. And Narendra Pal Singh on the tabla. We open this music. I have a request from the musicians, from Jasleen Kaur. She asks if you would please cover your heads if possible, and furthermore not to clap till she gets just to the songs at the end. Could you I just have a little extra piece of information about this music, which I must read out to you. It's from the Khushwant Singh Festival, and thank you. A divine journey which takes us to bliss and healing. Devotional music is all about unity between all religions, caste, and creed. The unique sound of the string instrument, the dilruba, adds its essence and beauty to the rhythm of the tabla and the music of the voice to transform you. Ladies and gentlemen, Jasleen Kaur and her troupe. Thank you.
Sat Shri Akal, Namaste, and greetings to everyone. It's my absolute honor to present Shabads in front of you all. And we would begin with the chanting of Mool Mantra, and then we will move on to the Shabads. The first Shabad is Aavo Meet Pyare, so it's a very welcoming and a Shabad of celebration that we are going to start this journey, this festival. So let's pray with that. Let's start with that. आवो मीत प्यारे, आवो मीत प्यारे, आवो मीत प्यारे, आवो मीत प्यारे, आवो मीत प्यारे। मंगल गावो नारे नारे, मंगल गावो नारे, मंगल गावो नारे नारे, मंगल गावो नारे, आवो मीत प्यारे प्यारे, आवो मीत प्यारे। सच मंगल गावो ता प्रभ पावो, सोहे लड़ा जुग चारे। सच मंगल गावो ता प्रभ पावो, सोहे लड़ा जुग चारे। अपने कर आया खान सुहाया, कारज शब्द सवारे, कारज शब्द सवारे। आवो मीत प्यारे प्यारे, आवो मीत प्यारे। मंगल गावो नारे नारे, मंगल गावो नारे, मंगल गावो नारे नारे, मंगल गावो नारे नारे, आवो मीत प्यारे प्यारे, आवो मीत प्यारे। ज्ञान महारस नेत्री अंजन, त्रिभुवन रूप दिखाया। सखी मिलो रस मंगल गावो, हम घर साजन आया, हम घर साजन आया। आवो मीत प्यारे प्यारे, आवो This Shabad is by Bhagat Kabir ji in the Gurbani. Har ka bilovna, bilovo mere pai. सहज बिलोवो जैसे तत ना जाए. हर का बिलोवना, हर का बिलोवना, बिलोवो मेरे पाई. हर का बिलोवना, बिलोवो मेरे पाई. सहज बिलोवो, सहज बिलोवो जैसे तत न जाए. सहज बिलोवो जैसे तत न जाए. हर का बिलोवना, बिलोवो मेरे आई. हर का बिलोवना, बिलोवो मेरे आई. सहज बिलोवो, सहज बिलोवो जैसे तत न जाए. सहज बिलोवो जैसे तत न जाए. हर का बिलोवना, बिलोवो मेरे आई. कर मटकी मन माही बिलोई, तन कर मटकी मन माही बिलोई। इस मटकी में, इस मटकी में शब्द संजोई। इस मटकी में, इस मटकी में शब्द संजोई। हर का बिलोवना बिलोवो मेरे आई, हर का बिलोवना बिलोवो मेरे आई। सहज बिलोवो, सहज बिलोवो, जैसे तत न जाई। सहज बिलोवो, सहज बिलोवो, जैसे तत न जाई। हर का बिलोवना, हर का बिलोवना बिलोवो मेरे आई। गुर प्रसाद, गुर प्रसाद पावे अमृत धारा। गुर प्रसाद पावे अमृत धारा। कहो कबीर, कहो कबीर नदर करे जे मीरा। राम नाम लग उतरे तीरा, राम नाम लग उतरे तीरा, राम नाम लग उतरे तीरा। राम नाम लग उतरे तीरा। हर का बिलोवना बिलोवो मेरे आई, हर का बिलोवना बिलोवो मेरे आई। सहज बिलोवो, सहज बिलोवो, जैसे तत न जाई। सहज बिलोवो, सहज बिलोवो, जैसे तत न जाई। हर का बिलोवना बिलोवो मेरे आई, हर का बिलोवना बिलोवो मेरे आई। सहज बिलोवो, सहज बिलोवो, जैसे तत न जाई। सहज बिलोवो, जैसे तत न जाई। हर का बिलोवना, हर का बिलोवना, हर का बिलोवना बिलोवो मेरे आई। बिलोवो मेरे The next Shabad that I'm going to sing is called Pir Dekhan Ki Aas. Pir here refers to the beloved. ए दो नैना मत छूहो पिर देखन की आस कागा करंग टडोलिया सगला khaya मास. This Shabad is written by Sheikh Farid ji, a Sufi sant. They say that the crows have searched my skeleton and eaten all my flesh. But please do not touch these eyes. I hope to see my Lord. The crows have taken everything from my flesh, from my body. But the only request, only plea that I have is, please do not touch these eyes, only these eyes, so that I can see my Lord. Everything has been taken away, but just spare these eyes. It's a very beautiful request written by Sheikh Farid ji. His Bani is very much there in Guru Granth Sahib. Guru Granth Sahib has so many bhagats and so many sons in it, coming from all different parts of the world, unbiased and non-discriminated.
फिर देखन की
छू फिर देखन फिर देखन की आस फिर देखन की आस आस ये दो नैना मत छू ये दो नैना मत छू फिर देखन की आस 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 Now we have a short instrumental piece, a jugalbandi piece between the Dilruba and the tabla. Dilruba is being played by Sandeep Singh ji, and Dilruba essentially means beloved. So this instrument and the tabla, we'll have the jugalbandi now. now wind up with this is the last song that we'll sing now. Jithe Malik rakhda hai rehna penda. Which means essentially remaining in the will of the God, the universe. Dukh sukh de hath de deve jo chave. Dukh sukh de hath de deve jo chave. Pai chal tu पानी आसदा फल मालक लावे. दुख सुख दे हथ दे देवे जो चावे. पाई चल तू पानी आसदा फल मालक लावे. सिदक होवे करतार ते दिल कदे नहीं टहंदा. जिथे मालिक रखदा है रहना पैंदा. जिथे मालिक रखदा है रहना पैंदा. You can clap now with me because I've waited for you too long. दुख सुख दे हथ दे देवे जो चावे. पाई चल तू पानी आसदा फल मालक लावे. सिदक होवे करतार ते दिल कदे नहीं टहंदा. जिथे मालिक रखदा है रहना पैंदा. जिथे मालिक रखदा है रहना पैंदा. देस होवे परदेस होवे ओ बानी छड़दा. देस होवे परदेस होवे ओ बानी छड़दा. दुनिया बूहे पेड़ दियो रस्ते कड़दा. दुनिया बूहे पेड़ दी ओ रस्ते कड़दा. चोरा का तो सोनिया चोरा का तो सोनिया तेरे दिल नू रहिंदा. जिथे मालिक रखदा है रहना पैंदा. 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 Thank you so much. Thank you so much, everyone. It was my pleasure to be here. Thank you so much, Harinder sir, Kiran ma'am from 1469 Original for giving me this opportunity to come here and sing. Thank you so much.
Thank you for that beautiful, beautiful transportation into other spaces, into other thoughts. Thank you very much indeed.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to the 11th chapter of the Khushwant Singh Lit Fest. My name is Rahul Singh. I'm the son of Khushwant Singh, and we named the literary festival after him. I think it's the only literary festival in India named after a person. And I should also say with some pride that it's probably the only literary festival, except for the Jaipur one, which has continuously been, taking place, except for the 2 years when we had the pandemic, when it had to be online. But it's the only literary festival that continuously, and it's so good to see it physical again, and with such a lovely turnout in this lovely Kasauli hill station. The view, as you will probably see, if you go out from outside there and look down, it's one of the most enchanting views that I think any literary festival can have. And I'm so glad to see such a good turnout right in the first morning. Well, as I said, we began this 10 years ago, 2012, and the Lit Fest reflects many of the values and concerns of my father, Khushwant Singh's. And one of the concerns was the ecology of Kasauli, preserving the flora and fauna of Kasauli. And very aptly, the theme this year is a slight play on words. It's not entirely about climate change, but we call it the climate of change. And so we are going to bring in themes of 75 years of Indian independence and how India has changed over the years, over those 75 years. So ecology was one of his great concerns. And then the education of the girl child. The Lit Fest has always been dedicated to the education of the girl child and, of course, being in the cantonment, and to the Indian soldier. So these were some of the concerns of my father. He also was very keen on improving Indo-Pak ties. That was again, he was born and brought up in Hadali in what is now Pakistan. But he was always keen on trying to further Indo-Pak ties. And I'm glad to say that in the first 3 years of the Lit Fest, we had leading Pakistani intellectuals and writers coming to the Lit Fest. And they had a marvelous time. Their sessions were absolutely packed. Sadly, because of, poorer relations with Pakistan, we have not been able to continue that tradition. But I'm hopeful that one of these days we will be able to do it again. Now, this Lit Fest, as I mentioned, would not have been possible without the help of the Kasauli Club and the Executive Committee, and successive brigadiers who have helped us a lot. But I'd just like to point out that the person who really began the Lit Fest and helped us begin it was then Brigadier Anant Narayanan and Aparna, his wife, and he's present here right in front of us. So a big thank you to, and he's now no longer brigadier, he's a lieutenant general in the army, and but without his help, we would have not been able to start this Lit Fest, and every subsequent brigadier has helped us with this Lit Fest. And the present brigadier is Brigadier Patania, who's, I don't know whether he's present here, but he will be here very much during these 3 days. And the successive secretaries of the club. And the present one, Colonel Sidhu, is very much present here. Without his help, this literary festival would not have been possible. Thank you very much for all that. Yeah, so now I just like to, also thank the residents of Kasauli. Without them, they have Many of them are present here. They've hosted lunches and dinners. Dinner was hosted last night, and I think Deepak is very much here, Honey, as he's known. Thank you to the residents of Kasauli, many of whom are present here. Then I'd like to thank the band of volunteers. This LitFest is entirely run by volunteers, really. Band of volunteers led by Ashima, who's, I think, busy at the desk in front. And there's Ashwani, our technical team, and Harinder and Kiran, who have been looking after social media and all. So I won't delay you any further, and we'll take it from there. Thank you very much, everybody. Come, Indy.
So hello everyone, my name is Indira Chandrasekhar and I'm going to sort of lead you through the festival today, guided of course by Nilufer's wise words and advice and information on all the wonderful speakers this morning. But before I get into that, I do want to thank Kasauli. You know, some of us come from far and wide, and here we are welcomed with sunny skies and the warmth of the residents of Kasauli, the friendship, the open arms of the club, the cantonment. It really feels so welcoming and lovely to be back. And I suppose I've been coming pretty much every year, so I mean that really is evidence that we love being here. Apart from the fact that Rahul and Nilufer put together this fantastic festival in honor of Mr. Khushwant Singh. Well, I'm excited to be here, and I hope you all are too, immersed in literature and ideas and entertainment and laughter, and in honoring Mr. Khushwant Singh. I'd like to personally thank Rahul and Nilufer for the tremendous work they do in creating and curating this festival. As Rahul said, the theme of the festival is the climate of change, and there's a little cheeky byline that follows, which I don't know if you've all seen, but I have it, and it says, "Still sprightly at 75." So here we are. I'm sure we're going to be returning to the theme repeatedly through the festival as we approach it from different angles, thanks to Nilufer's fine gathering of authors. But our first and most important, well, not most important, every speaker is important, but first and significantly important session of the day is with Dr. Amitab Kosh. Now, he's the keynote speaker of the festival. The keynote is what sort of sets the tone for the festival. And most of you would have read his works over the years, I'm sure, from the Calcutta Chromosome, when he was celebrated, and I quote, "a fascinating and seductive writer," through to the beautiful Glass Palace and Hungry Tide, which are among my personal favorites, and then, of course, the grand canvas of the, one can paraphrase, the Opium Trilogy, to the most recent, The Living Mountain, a fable for our times that casts critical light on who we are as humans and how we treat our world. Today, this master storyteller, and I quote the KSLF little blurb, uses complex narrative strategies to probe the nature of national and personal identity, particularly of the people of India and Southeast Asia. He's here with us, and he's, of course, won hordes of awards, 4 honorary doctorates, a Padma Shri, the Gyanpith, and so on and so forth. But he's here to talk to us about where we stand after 75 years of India's freedom, even as he reminds us of the near existential crisis that humanity faces. Please welcome on stage Mr. Amitab Kosh.
I'm afraid, well, thank you very much for that most generous introduction. It's very kind of you. I'm going to take a few minutes to set up my PowerPoint, so please bear with me. The tech people were in a great hurry to have me up here, but I don't see them now. तो HDMI है ना? ठीक है. कौन सा स्क्रीन पे दिखाएगा यहाँ? लेकिन दिखाई तो नहीं दे रहा है. कनेक्ट हुआ है?
आपकी स्क्रीन पे नहीं आ रहा. तो मैं करता हूँ. वो चेंज हो गया सर.
चेंज हो गया.
इसको आपको बैक करना, इसको फुल स्क्रीन कर दो.
फुल स्क्रीन तो है. फुल स्क्रीन है. प्रेजेंटर्स व्यू पे है.
ठीक है सर.
ठीक है ना? थैंक यू.
आप सामने भी देख सकते हैं सर.
अच्छा ठीक है. So I want to start by saying it's a really great pleasure for me to be here today, particularly for a festival named after Khushwant Singh, who released one of my early books. In fact, The Shadow Lines, which I began writing right here in Kasauli, just 2 houses away, in Vivan Sundaram's house. That's almost, let me see, that was 1986, so 36 years ago. And it's been really a strangely moving experience to be back in Kasauli after all these years. I went for a walk down here and everything's almost unrecognizable. But that book was edited by Khushwant Singh's son-in-law, Rahul's brother-in-law, Ravi Dayal. He was my editor for 20 years. And I think he's the best editor ever, such a great loss. And Mala and Naina, who are dear friends of ours, I haven't seen them in a while, but I feel all sorts of connections to being here, and I'm ever so grateful to Rahul and Nilufer for inviting me to be here today. So, I was coming in here and thinking, I saw these pictures of, those announcements of this lecture and this meeting, and I thought, I would never have imagined 36 years ago that I would be here like 18 books later to talk about my most recent book. And my most recent book is called The Nutmeg's Curse. And I'm going to talk to you about the book and the story of the book. The story begins almost exactly 400 years ago in a very faraway place. So far away that very few of you are likely to have heard of it. That place is the Banda archipelago, a tiny cluster of islands in the far southeastern quadrant of the Indian Ocean. The largest of these islands is only 2.5 miles in length and 1/2 mile in width. So minuscule are the Banda Islands that on most maps they are marked only by a sprinkling of dots. But that's actually not true. On most maps they're not even visible. The Banda Islands sit upon a fault line where the earth shows itself to be palpably alive. The islands and their volcanoes are the offspring of the ring of fire that runs from Chile in the east to the rim of the Indian Ocean in the west. A still active volcano Gunung Api, or Fire Mountain, towers above the Banda Islands, its peak perpetually wreathed in plumes of swirling cloud and upwelling steam. Gunung Api is one of a great number of volcanoes in this stretch of ocean. The surrounding waters are dotted with beautifully formed conical mountains that surge majestically out of the waves, some of them rising to heights of over 1,000 meters or more. The very name of the region, Maluku, which gave birth to the English toponym Malaccas, is said to derive from Moloko, a word that means mountain or mountain island. The mountain islands of Maluku often erupt with devastating force. Yet there is also something magical about these convulsions, something akin to the pain of childbirth. For the eruptions of Maluku's volcanoes bring to the surface alchemical mixtures of materials which interact with the winds and weather of the region in such a way as to create forests that teem with wonders and rarities. In the case of the Banda Islands, the gift of Gunung Api was a botanical species that has flourished on this tiny archipelago like nowhere else. This is the tree that produces both nutmeg and mace, Jeffel and Javitri. Before the 18th century, every single nutmeg in the world originated in or around the Banda Islands. But the nutmeg was a venturesome traveler. Centuries before the Common Era, nutmegs were circulating widely across Asia, Africa, and Europe. They came to be so coveted that in 15th century Europe, a handful of nutmegs could buy a house or a ship. What made nutmegs and mace the objects of such intense desire? Like many other spices, they have some remarkable properties, but contrary to modern myth, they did not owe their desirability to their preservative powers. The commonest of household ingredients, salt, is actually a far more effective preservative. So why were these culinary condiments so greatly valued? The answer is simple: because spices connoted luxury, because only the affluent could afford them. Spices were thus the original commodities, and such was their allure that they launched the voyages of innumerable European navigators in the 15th century. The spice race was the space race of its time. We like to think that Vasco da Gama, etc., was setting off for India, but India at that time really meant Indonesia, and they were really heading for the, for the Spice Islands, which is the Banda